Well, good afternoon, and it's great to be in beautiful Vaughan today, and what a beautiful library. And Margie, you're doing a great job, and Mayor, you're obviously doing a great job every day, as everyone else here in Vaughan is doing. So today, I want to recognize Ontario's parents. There are thousands of families out there who have made sacrifices, who have taken seriously the public health advice, and who have gone that extra mile to make sure their child can learn safely. I know it hasn't been easy, juggling work and running a business while helping your kids attend classes in person or online, screening your child every day for symptoms, staying home with them when they're sick, or taking them to get tested. Our parents have been the unsung heroes, and they've been critical in the fight against COVID-19. So I want to thank all our parents for everything they've done over the past several months. They've been doing an incredible job under trying circumstances to support their child's learning and ensure our classrooms remain safe. I would also like to acknowledge our wonderful principals, teachers, staff, and custodians. Thanks to you, we have kept outbreaks to a minimum in our schools and child care centers. Since this pandemic started, parents have been there for us, and I can tell you we will be there for them. I want to thank families, and we will always be there to support each and every single person in this province. That's why I'm proud to announce that starting today, the portal is open for applications for the Support for Learners program. As part of the 2020 budget, Ontario's action plan, Protect, Support and Recover, we announced additional supports for parents with learning costs and at-home care. For every child from the ages 0 to 12, parents will receive $200 in support. And for every child or youth with special needs from ages 0 to 21, we're providing $250. Whether your child is in school, in child care, or at home, families are eligible for the funding. We are investing an additional $380 million to help with additional education expenses during COVID-19, including workbooks, school supplies and technology, or to help offset child care expenses. This builds on the $378 million we provided parents during the first wave of COVID-19. As Premier, I want every parent to know our top priority is to keep our schools and child care centers open as safely as possible. We have the Chief Medical Officer of Health, the local medical officers of health, and health experts. We have an army of 625 public health nurses supporting our schools. They're all monitoring the situation closely. They're expanding testing in schools, especially in the hotspot areas. They're doing everything in their power to keep the kids safe. We have the best, the most robust school safety plan in the entire country. And we're sparing no expense. We're all doing everything we can to ensure kids can come back to school safely after the holiday break, because families need that certainty. Parents need that certainty. The kids need the mentorship and the peer support that only the classroom can provide. It's critical for both their physical and mental health. But we need the help of absolutely everyone, not just our teachers and our parents to flatten that curve. We need our army of 14.5 million people all pulling in the same direction right now. Let's fight COVID-19 for schools, let's fight COVID-19 for our child care centers, and let's fight COVID-19 for our family, friends, and neighbors. Keep following the health guidelines, and together we will defeat this deadly threat. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll pass it to Minister Phillips.
Thank you, Premier, for those words. We all have to fight COVID-19, and it's great to be here in Vaughan with my colleague, the Minister of Education and MPP from Vaughan, Stephen Lecce, and of course, Mayor Bevilacqua, the Mayor of Vaughan. Real pleasure to be in this great community. Earlier this month, I introduced Ontario's 2020 budget, the next phase of our government's response to COVID-19, Ontario's action plan, Protect, Support and Recover. Our plan has three pillars. First, we are protecting people from this deadly virus by increasing our health investments to $15.2 billion. Second, we are building on our earlier relief to provide a total of $13.5 billion in direct support for families, workers, and employers, in addition to $11.3 billion in cash flow support. And third, we're removing barriers to recovery and providing $4.8 billion to protect and create jobs now and in the future. This next phase of Ontario's action plan brings our total COVID-19 response to $45 billion. Since the beginning of COVID-19, we've promised to be there for the people of Ontario, and Ontario's action plan, Protect, Support and Recover, we are expanding that support, including, as the Premier outlined, to parents. Whether kids are attending school online, in person, or a mix of both, every parent in Ontario is feeling the strain of COVID-19. As part of our commitment to keep students safe, we made $1.3 billion available to support safe reopening of our schools, the most robust and comprehensive plan in the entire country. All of our thanks go to parents, teachers, and staff whose daily vigilance and hard work ensure that all of our children are learning and safe. We are also investing in new programs to help kids learn online, as well as creating a digital learning portal so that parents and students can easily access the curriculum. Our government continues to look to the future, which is why we're investing $13 billion over 10 years, including $1.4 billion this year and $1.9 billion next year, to build new schools and improve existing schools across Ontario. But we also need to deal with today's challenges. We've heard from parents that new expenses to support their kids' education in this COVID-19 era are straining their pocketbooks. The government cannot end the global pandemic, but we will provide a measure of relief with the Support for Learners initiative. Parents will once again receive a payment of $200 per child 12 and under and $250 per child 21 and under with special needs. This $380 million investment in families builds, as the Premier said, on the $378 million provided to parents during the first wave of COVID-19. So an Ontario family with 3 children, including one with special needs, would receive $1,300 this year to help cover the costs of an accessible workspace and technology to enable online learning. This is money well spent. Before we close, I do just want to also note that Minister Freeland will be introducing the fall federal economic statement today. I think the 3 pillars that I just outlined in our budget would provide a useful framework for this federal financial update as well. For example, the federal government has an opportunity to meet the urgent requests of our premiers from all provinces and territories to significantly increase the Canada Health Transfer to cover 35% of provincial and territorial health spending. They can accelerate approvals for important infrastructure projects and step up with an additional $10 billion per year for the next 10 years for shovel-ready projects. This would be an important investment today and, again, asked for unanimously by the premiers. I also call on the federal government to join us in our vision for every Ontario home, business, and farm to be connected to high-speed broadband internet. Our government has provided $1 billion to make this vision a reality. Increasing the federal investment today would help Ontario and Canada recover. We will continue to work with our federal partners and people across Canada as we continue to navigate COVID-19. There is a lot of work to do, including rolling out a vaccine. Thank you, and now I'll hand it over to Minister Lecce.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Minister Phillips. It's amazing to be here and to be hosting today's announcement in the City of Vaughan at the very modern and wonderful Civic Centre Resource Library. Thanks to Vaughan Libraries for hosting us today and for all that they're doing to support families, particularly students, through the pandemic. So we're very grateful for your leadership. Without question, COVID-19 has made life difficult for Ontario families. Our priority remains keeping schools safe and open, while ensuring we support families facing hardship from this global pandemic. In the spring, we launched an initiative that provided direct financial support to hundreds of thousands of Ontario parents. Today, we're building on our record. We're launching the Support for Learners initiative that will put money directly into the pockets of working moms and dads in this province. Une nouvelle aide financière pour les parents de l'Ontario. Ahead of this holiday, this financial support will help families cover the unexpected costs of school supplies and other learning resources, especially for our youngest learners. As the Premier indicated, the website is now live, and I encourage eligible parents to visit right now at www.ontario.ca/support for learners and sign up right now for this financial support. Signing up online, as you will have done before, is efficient and secure. The monies will be deposited directly into your accounts within roughly 2 weeks following your verification. Applications will remain open until January 15th, 2021, so I'm encouraging you all to sign up as soon as you can. The program is available to all eligible parents. If your child is in school or at home, in childcare, it does not matter. Now, As we enter December and combat the second wave, our focus will remain on keeping your children and all staff safe. It is why our plan, fully endorsed by the Chief Medical Officer of Health, was expanded to further safeguard our schools by launching asymptomatic testing in schools and higher risk communities to add a new layer of protection. We also are providing additional funding that supports communities with higher rates of COVID-19 transmission, from Toronto to Peel, York, and Ottawa, and now Waterloo, Durham, Halton, and Hamilton. And we're providing refresher training for all students of COVID-19 safety protocols for the first day back in January. In this country, our plan leads the way. However, we will not rest upon the progress made. We will continue to act to reduce transmission and ultimately do our part to keep kids safe. Thank you, and I'd now like to call up His Worship Mayor Maurizio Bevilacqua.
Thank you very much, Minister, Premier, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Lecce. Thank you so much for choosing the great city of Vaughan to make this very important announcement. It is really with an attitude of gratitude that I say these few words. Essentially, thank you for your leadership, and also to recognize that in the fight against COVID-19, we are indeed in this together, and we will, in fact, emerge stronger. The announcement today is proof positive of the important role that governments play in helping and aiding Ontarians with important expenses. The investments we make in people is really what government is all about. This announcement is really about the public good, the greater good, the ability of governments to be there for each other and one another. Throughout this COVID-19, we can all agree that governments have worked extremely well together. There are no divisions. There's unity. Unity that has given hope to Canadians that we collectively can get through this together in a manner that speaks to the highest values of Canadian citizenship, and that is love, compassion, understanding, mutual admiration, and mutual respect. This announcement here in the city of Vaughan is welcomed by families and children who need a helping hand during these difficult and challenging times. Thank you.
We'll go to the phone line for questions. First question, please.
First question comes from Chris Rushowy at the Toronto Star. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Good afternoon.
Hi.
My first question is for the Premier, and it's with regards to the payments for the Support for Learners program. I'm just wondering, given the alleged 11 million fraud by government employees, if you have any concerns about the integrity of the program, and if you've made any corrections to the online application process.
Well, that's an excellent question, and I can't speak about that case. It's in front of the courts, but what I can tell you that we've introduced stronger security measures on these payments to ensure this never ever happens again, including here's some examples: introducing spot audits, introducing additional qualification rules, implementing stronger bank validations. And I just wish I could tell you more, but I just can't on the other case. It's in front of the courts, but I'm sure this person and the people of Ontario will see justice done to someone that wants to steal money. It's unacceptable at all times, especially during COVID when it's supposed to be going to families that they're struggling. I better stop there.
Follow up.
Okay, thank you. My follow-up question is for Minister Lecce. I'm just wondering, there's some evidence emerging in the U.S. and in Alberta about sort of learning gaps that have developed since March, since the schools shut down.
Right.
Kids are falling behind, particularly in reading during the pandemic.
Right.
And I'm just wondering if this is something the ministry is tracking. Is this something you've asked boards to track? And do you have any plans in the works to address the learning gaps that are emerging?
Yeah, we're very cognizant of these learning gaps. We're seeing that phenomena globally. Our priority as a province and as a ministry is to ensure that we put in place the programs and supports, particularly for at-risk communities. Last year, in the spring, ahead of the school year, we had the forward planning to know that summer learning was going to be critical to bridge those gaps from a difficult 2019 school year into this current school year. So we expanded it. The Premier announced the largest expansion of the summer school program in the history of Ontario, a 70% increase year over year of participation. because we thought then ahead of September that those gaps may exist. We're now planning for the summer of 2021 with a similar aim to strengthen the options for kids. It's why we expanded math supports, math tutoring supports from registered Ontario certified teachers for students in both elementary and in high school in English and French. And it's why the Learning Opportunities Grant, which is specifically for at-risk constituencies, we increased the funding by $18 million more over last year to make sure that our Indigenous, First Nation, Black, other students in this province continue to get ahead, that they're able to access quality learning and the services they need. So it is very much the heart of what we're doing today, and we are building out a plan for the summer and September 2021 and beyond, and we'll be unveiling that in the new year.
Next question.
Next question comes from Mike Crawley at CBC News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mike.
Hi. Question again for Minister Lecce regarding the asymptomatic testing that's been going on in the schools. Given that that's showing that the number of COVID cases is actually, higher than what has been discovered before, what do you say to the parents and experts that have been telling you that the testing that's been going on hasn't been accurately reflecting how widely COVID is spreading within the schools?
Well, first off, I think it should be noted that the principal within the school had communicated that the positivity rate compared from the community to the school is quite vast, right? In the community, it's roughly 16% positivity, whereas in the school, it's roughly 4%. There's a 4-time increase of transmission happening in the community, notwithstanding those schools are right at the heart of those neighborhoods. So there's something right happening in the context of the layers of prevention and the fact that our staff, our students, and parents are adhering to the public health advice. I accept, Mike, that we still have work to do in the context of countering COVID-19 in our community. Thorncliffe Park, in the context of this school, is in a region of the province that is now under lockdown, the highest level of restriction, because the government, and the Premier indicated this before, for us the priority is our schools, it is our kids, it is our seniors and the most vulnerable, which is why we made that difficult but important decision to reduce that trajectory and to try to get our province back on track in the context of our recovery. What I also will say is the fact that we know this data point today is because the province launched asymptomatic testing with the aim of identifying those kids that have COVID but don't have symptoms to prevent further transmission. So the fact that hundreds of children, students, and staff have gone tested in this school in conjunction with the local public health unit, I think underscores that the plan in place is working hard to mitigate any further spread. Identifying COVID cases, isolating them, removing them from the school so that we don't have spreaders within the school. That is what the program is designed to do. It is what is taking place at Thorncliffe Public School. And obviously the fact that we have doubled the public health nurse allocation, over 625 net new public health nurses working specifically on our schools, is enhancing our capacity to keep kids safe. And it has to be said, I mean, this morning, including the data points from Thorncliffe, 99.9% of Ontario students are COVID-free. And that continues, I think, to underscore the importance of following public health advice. And it really, I think, demonstrates the importance of keeping schools open, which is our plan for 2021.
Follow-up?
My other question is for the Premier. Premier, it's the last day of November, and so this month, 520 people died of COVID-19. It's been the deadliest month since the spring, and more than half of those deaths happened among residents of long-term care. What do you say to the families of those residents, given that back at the end of March you promised to put an iron ring around long-term care?
Well, my heart breaks, and my condolences and prayers and thoughts go out to all families that lost loved ones, not just in long-term care, but right across the province, Mike. And it does weigh on you. It weighs on you every single night. We were in meetings on Sunday, yesterday, with a group of the health table, and sitting down and making sure that we even secure long-term care homes even tighter than they already are by mandating that every single staff gets tested every 5 days to make sure all visitors get tested every single 5 days. And as I've always said, that the COVID doesn't come in through the walls or other places. It comes through the hard-working, inadvertently, the hard-working staff members, and no fault of their own or visitors. No one wants to bring it in there, but it happens. So we need to lock it down even tighter than we have in the past, and we're coming up with some other other ideas on how we can even improve it even more. So we're never going to stop working to make sure we secure and lock down these long-term care homes as tight as possible.
Next question.
Next question comes from Caroline Alfonso from the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. My question is for Minister Lecce.
Yep.
Minister, we have data from Thorncliffe Park Public School, and we'll likely have data from other schools in hotspot areas as well. I'm just wondering what steps is the government taking to understand where this transmission is occurring?
Well, obviously, part of the benefit of having asymptomatic testing in those high-risk communities identified the public health unit is to provide us with more data to better understand not just where the risk is, but how we can further counter it, and we're trying to do both of that. We are committed to keeping our schools safe. It's why we have invested a plan that's been endorsed by the Chief Medical Officer of this province. It's been fully funded by this province. The most significant investment in Canada to date to ensure our schools remain open. And when you contrast our plan in Ontario with the studies and understanding we have of the data before us and the emerging evidence on this issue with Quebec, we're talking about a significant number of cases in Quebec compared to Ontario. They have roughly 9,000 student cases. We have less than 4,000, and yet they have 1 million fewer students. And so my point is we're looking at the data we have to inform the next steps. Everything we've done has been according to the evidence and science and the expert advice of the command table. We'll continue to take it and build it into our plan for January 2021 and beyond.
Follow-up?
At Thorncliffe Park, again, there's more than 200 kids, students in self-isolation right now. Is there any consideration being given to the policy around sending kids home for 2 weeks, especially if this is sort of a recurring thing that happens?
Yes, I mean, the decision point on sending a cohort or school home is decided exclusively by the local public health unit. It will rest with them. There's no plan at this time to change that. Obviously, we continue to listen and seek guidance from the command table and Dr. Williams on the way forward. I appreciate that time, 10 to 14 days, can feel like a lot for a lot of these kids to be isolated, but from an expectation in the ministry, I set out before school started as a requirement for every school that within 24 hours they must pivot to online learning, live, synchronous, Zoom-style learning for 75% of the day, and I'm pleased to report that according to all information we have, all schools in this province, including the first one that took place in September, all pivoted within that 24-hour period.
Next question.
Next question comes from Graham Richardson at CTV Ottawa. Please go ahead.
Hi, Graham.
Hi, for the Premier. Where are you at now, Premier Ford, in terms of comfort with vaccines? There has seemed to be some doubt as to whether Canada will be as short as some people had suggested. Do you have any more comfort on vaccines over the last 72 hours than you did last week?
No. I have to get answers. I've been asking the federal government. We need to know when we're getting it, how much we're getting, and what we're getting. There's different vaccines out there. So to be perfectly frank, I'm not any more comfortable than I was last week. But we're going to be speaking to the companies themselves. I have a call with Pfizer this afternoon, and it's just, the clock is ticking. And we hear stories from around the world. I've read a story that UK might be starting their vaccines on December the 7th. Well, we need answers, and we've worked very collaboratively with the federal government. But we need the answers. There's 3 simple answers that we need. When we can't find out at the last minute that we're getting vaccines tomorrow. General Hillier is putting together a very, very strong plan. So we're just asking the federal government, just to tell us those three answers, and we're good to go.
Follow up?
What will you be asking the Pfizer CEO?
I'm going to ask them when can we expect our fair share, and I'm sure their answer is, well, it's going to go through the federal government. I need a date. You know, I've been asking and asking. I look at it from the business aspect, the business world. When you place an order for hundreds of millions of dollars and you aren't getting answers, either, and I'm not accusing anyone of this, but either something's going on, someone's not being honest, or there's incompetence. And I don't know, or maybe both. I'm not too sure. And that's not accusing anyone, the federal government or the pharmaceutical companies, but the clock is ticking and everyone's spending hundreds of millions of dollars and you can't give me a delivery date? No, it's unacceptable. We need a delivery date. We need to know how much and what type of doses we're getting. Simple as that.
Last question.
Last question comes from Lucas Meyer at News Talk 1010. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My first question is actually for Minister Phillips.
Sure.
Minister Phillips, so according to CP, a number of provincial finance ministers are asking the feds to put a pause on the planned increase to the CPP premiums. And the CFIB told us earlier today that they would be concerned that if there was no pause, that middle-income earners would see their paycheck shrink quite significantly. So what is Ontario's official position on this? Is the provincial government formally asking the feds to put that pause on CPP, and how much are you emphasizing that to Ottawa, if so?
Yeah, Lucas, we haven't had those discussions. I did read the reporting that that some provinces have had a discussion with the federal government. That change comes into effect January 1st. Where we have spoken to the CPP and the federal government is around the changes in the estimates from the actuaries in terms of the actual percentage of impact that is happening. But we've not had that formal conversation with the federal government. I did read again through the media that some other governments have. That's not a conversation we've had.
Follow up?
Is there, Minister, would you, I mean, if the CFIB is saying what it's saying and several other provincial ministers are concerned about this, can you maybe explain, you know, why this is not Ontario's position, why you guys are not going that far to make a formal pause? Can you just go into why this just, I guess, is in the biggest priority and the other one is, I suppose?
Yeah, we've asked for clarification on what the CFIB has said with regards to the actuarial estimates, and as you would have likely seen from the reporting, one of the challenges because of COVID, there may have been a distortion in the calculations because some income or lower income workers were not in that survey that they would normally do to estimate the annual increase. And so the questions we've asked is, can they help us understand? We'd like to understand that, but we do have to also appreciate that this is a step that will be taken at the end of next month in terms of January 1st. So we've asked for clarification on those questions. I think those are important questions to get answered. We'd like to understand and make sure that any adjustments that can be made should be made. It shouldn't be over such a long-term program as the increases in the Canada Pension Plan, which we do agree are going to be important for Canadians and Ontarians in the future. But if there's been an aberration this year because of some statistical anomaly in terms of the calculation, then we'd like to understand that.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.